Hello everybody and welcome back to the Podge for You YouTube channel. So lately I've been really into doing cottagecore type projects, and mushrooms are a really good thing to put in all kinds of different types of cottagecore projects. So I'm basically going to be showing you guys how I make the mushrooms for my projects today. Basically what I do is I just make them out of foil, and that's what I'm doing now. I made the little stem part, and then I make the top part. There's two ways you can do the top part, okay? You can take a little bit of stuffing. You can pretty much use whatever you have available. If you can use something recycled or something you were gonna throw away, even better. I'm just using a little piece of this napkin to kind of help make the mushroom, to stuff the top part of the mushroom. And it's really easy to do with foil. So, like I said, there's two ways to do it. If you want like more of like a rounded type mushroom, then you can add a little bit of stuffing in it. Or if you want, you know, the kind that are like kind of like more longer and droopier, then you would just use the foil and you would not use any stuffing. So I kind of tried them both ways and played around with it. And this is what I ended up doing. You are going to have to use hot glue to attach the stem and the top part of the mushroom. I tried using other adhesives and it didn't work out. The hot glue is going to be the best choice to keep it intact. And then after you get the basic structure of the little mushroom built, what you're going to do is you're going to take little pieces of tissue paper, napkin, whatever you have on hand, or whatever that you can recycle and use, and you can just take a little bit of Mod Podge and kind of coat the entire mushroom with that top layer of paper, tissue paper, paper towel, whatever you end up using. Basically, you're just going to want to create a nice layer. It really only takes one. Most people have their own way of doing Mod Podge, and most people know how to do this, but if you do not, the way that I do it is I put a layer underneath and then I'll put a layer on top. And sometimes I'll even go back, and after it's mostly dry, I'll just kind of put like another really light layer on top of the whole thing, just to kind of give it a little bit more strength. But everybody has their own way of doing things, so it's completely up to you how you do this. Alright, the next step for me is going to be to use some chalk paint to just kind of give them a nice layer on top, because we are going to be painting these. And so I like to use a layer of chalk paint over the Mod Podge. That way I can just kind of cover up whatever designs, you know, that I ended up using. Like, for example, with these napkins, they had a little bit of a flower print on them. And so painting the whole thing white will cover that up. But even if I had used, like, say, paper towels or something all white to cover it with, like white tissue paper, I would still paint these with a layer of chalk paint. I think that it just gives it a nice kind of underground base layer for what other paint colors we're going to be putting on top of it. And the next step is going to be the fun part. This is going to be where you decorate the mushrooms. So I'm just using basic copper paint with mine, kind of like a copper, like I don't know, like brown color, to try to make them look somewhat natural. You can use whatever you want. You can put glitter on top of them. You can decorate them however you want. This is the kind of the fun part where you're picking the colors for your cottagecore item or whatever it is that you're making. The next step in the mushrooms is going to be painting, you know, the little white dots on top of them. And for that, I'm just using kind of like a light cream color, and I'm just dotting them with my brush. Then for the last step, what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing the stems. You can use any kind of paint. You know, I obviously would recommend probably like acrylic, some kind of form of acrylic paint. But you can use whatever you want. But for these, what I'm doing too is I'm taking some of the antique wax and I'm just kind of brushing it along the edges of the cap of the mushroom. I feel like antique wax gives things kind of a shadow and makes them look more realistic. And then I'm kind of using the antique wax underneath the mushroom as well. And then also using it kind of for the color of the stem. But feel free to use brown paint or use whatever that you have on hand that works for you. And then that would be the last touch to finish up these mushrooms. So they're really easy to make and they are great for making cottagecore DIYs.